When something terrible happens and the word religion gets brought up, two names dominate the conversation: Christianity and Islam. Why? With thousands of faiths worldwide, why do the two largest, with over half the world's population, seem to shoulder the heaviest load of blame for religious conflict and historical wrongs? It's a complex question that touches on history, size, geopolitics, and media. Let's dive into the reasons why Christianity and Islam received the hardest hit in the religious blame game. Reason 1. Global size and visibility. The first and most straightforward reason is simple math: scale. Christianity is the world's largest religion, with about 2.4 billion followers. Islam is the second largest, with nearly 2 billion followers. Together, they account for over 50% of the global population. Think of it this way: when you have billions of people, you inherently have a greater chance of actions, both good and bad, being tied to that group. Any conflict, political movement, or social issue involving a significant population group is likely to involve members of these two faiths. The sheer global presence means their actions, or the actions of those claiming to act in their name, are amplified. Reason 2. Geopolitics and modern conflict. The blame also hits hardest because of where and how these religions interact with modern global power structures and conflicts. The West and Christianity. Historically, the global political and cultural dominance of the West, Western Europe and the Americas, has been intertwined with Christianity. When people talk about historical wrongs like colonialism, the Inquisition, or centuries of religious persecution in Europe, these events are inextricably linked to the actions of Christian majority powers. The association between Western foreign policy and a historical Christian identity remains potent. Islam and recent conflict. In the post-9/11 world, a major focus of media and political discourse has been on conflicts in the Middle East and the rise of groups claiming extremist Islamic ideologies, such as Al-Qaeda or ISIS. While these extremist groups represent a tiny minority of Muslims, their highly publicized and horrific acts have led to a pervasive and often unfair association between the religion itself and violence in the public imagination. This creates a cycle. Large-scale politically charged conflicts where a religious identity is present become a shorthand for blaming the religion. Before we move on to reason number 3, we'd like you to be so kind to hit that subscribe button. So reason number 3 is a long history of public interreligious conflict. Both faiths have a long and violent history of clashing with each other and other groups. This deep historical legacy provides convenient, if often oversimplified, examples for critics. The Crusades. For centuries, this series of religious wars launched by European Christians against Islamic control of the Holy Land is a quintessential example of religion being used as a primary motivator for mass violence. The Reconquista. The centuries-long period when Christian kingdoms in the Iberian Peninsula pushed out Muslim rule is another major historical conflict defined by religious differences. Internal strife. It's not just conflict between the two. Each faith has its own history of internal conflict, like the Protestant Reformation or the early Islamic schism between Sunni and Shia, events that were often brutal and deeply consequential. This long history of conflicts, often framed as battles between the Christian West and the Islamic East, means critics don't have to look far for historical ammunition. Reason 4. Public advocacy and controversial doctrines. Finally, both faiths often have high-profile involvement in contemporary social and political debates that draw criticism. Social policy. Debates around abortion, LGBTQ+ rights, or public education are often led by advocates whose arguments are rooted in Christian or Islamic moral and theological positions. This high-profile advocacy makes them targets for those who disagree with the policies. Fundamentalism. Both faiths have fundamentalist strains that can lead to extremely controversial and sometimes violent interpretations of their scripture, whether it's the actions of an anti-abortion extremist or a radicalized terrorist cell. When a follower of one of these faiths commits a controversial act, even if not sanctioned by the majority of the community, the media often sensationalizes the religious element, driving the blame to the entire faith. Conclusion: the secular blame filter. So when the blame hits Christianity and Islam the hardest, it's not because they are inherently worse than any other faith. It's because of their massive scale, making them involved in everything. Geopolitical significance, particularly in modern power struggles. Long visible history of major conflicts. Ultimately, most of the conflicts we see as religious are a complicated mix of religion, politics, territory, and economics. Religion often provides the label and the moral justification, which makes it an easy and emotionally charged target for blame, particularly for the world's two largest and most publicly visible faiths. What do you think? Is the blame justified, or is it a convenient distraction from secular causes like politics and power? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into complex world issues.